All right, I think we live everywhere. About to start the stream soon. What's going on, people? Back on here for another coding challenge. It's been a couple weeks, so trying to get back on the grind, get back on the regular cadence of doing these live coding challenges. And I might start to try to mix in some other live content too, but I gotta get back on doing these coding challenges and just staying practiced and helping people and just sharing this online. So I hope people join in, ask questions, watch me do this coding challenge. Hopefully I don't get stuck. Hopefully I can get through it pretty quickly. I don't plan to be on here too long, so I probably just do the problem, answer some questions after, and then get off of here and eat some dinner, eat some food or whatever, and just do something else tonight. But yeah, so usually I'm gonna try to usually what I do is answer like a easy or medium problem on here, go through the solution, talk through my solution like I would in a real interview, and then try to explain myself or whatever, and then try to answer some questions after. So tonight I'm doing an easy problem, but the difference is from what I've been doing before is this is a linked list problem, which I don't think I've done too many times on here before. So this will be an introduction to some people. It'll be old news to some people, probably be really easy for other people. This is probably the easiest linked list problem on LeetCode.com. That's what I'll be using. It's a site called LeetCode.com to do these coding challenges. This is probably the easiest sorted list problem, or sorry, not sorted list, but linked list problem. And so I'm gonna try to give it a couple more minutes, and then I'm gonna jump on here and do the problem live in front of everybody. So we'll see how it goes. But hopefully, I know people be in the chat, hopefully, and can answer questions that I might have, or ask each other questions, or ask me questions, or whatever you feel you want to comment. So yeah, I think I'm gonna probably get started in a few minutes. Yeah, this one's called remove duplicates from a sorted list. It's a linked list problem, so it's really should be called sorted linked list, because it's different than just a regular list. It's a linked list. And what a linked list is it contains, its pictures a pretty good representation of what a linked list is in a programming language, in an application or whatever. It consists of these nodes, and these circles, you could call those nodes, and then these nodes are connected by edges, which you could just basically call a connection or an edge. And basically in a linked list, there's multi-directional linked lists and there's single directional linked lists. This is a single direction linked list where the first node has a pointer to the next node, which has a pointer to the next node, which has so it just goes on like that. And what they want you to do in this problem is basically remove the duplicates from the linked list. The important thing about the linked list is, like I said, it has a node which has a value, 1 here, 2 here. And every node also has a pointer or to the next node in the list. And that's how you know what the next node is, by having a pointer to that object of the next node in the list. So nodes are actually objects in your programming language, whatever you're using. So they would have a value property, and they'd have like a next property or some edge property to the next node. They would tell you where the next node is. And linked lists are used to do a number of different type of problems and solve a number of things in programming languages, applications. So yeah, Samuel Rodriguez, man, appreciate you jumping on there. Yeah, I ain't been on here in probably it's been like 2.5 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, maybe. I don't know. I kind of slipped up this time, but yeah, I should be getting back on a regular cadence soon. I'm trying to get up to twice a week, but I've slowed down to less than once a week. So anyway, I'm not gonna keep talking about it. I'm about to go ahead and jump into it, man. Raymond Ramirez on YouTube. Appreciate you jumping on. I'm doing good, man. How you doing? Yeah, Moonless jumped on here with some comments. Only difficult part if your language doesn't have garbage collection. That's a good assessment of it. I mean, yeah, this is a pretty easy one. I mean, yeah, you thinking of it really deeply, like per language, then yeah, you can start to find some issues and problems and stuff like that. So the laughing man said a problem I finally might be able to solve. This one, yeah, this is probably the first. I think this is the first linked list question on LinkedIn. Not LinkedIn. What I'm talking about, man. On LeetCode.com. So it's probably one of the easiest linked list related questions on I don't know why I want to keep saying LinkedIn, on LeetCode.com. So anyway, I'm about to jump into it. So I appreciate y'all hanging in there. And yeah, just put your questions in the chat. I'll try to answer them, but I'm gonna be laser focused on trying to do the problem. So even though it's easy, it kind of, you never know, these things can trip you up. I've seen the best of programmers get tripped up in interviews on easy problems before. So let's go. Let's do it. So this one's called remove duplicates from sorted list. Really should be called remove duplicates from sorted linked list, but that's the name of the problem on LeetCode.com. It's an easy problem. It's number 83, so it's pretty low in the list on LeetCode.com. And I don't have pros, so I don't know what companies, but supposedly some real companies asked this, probably to junior developers. And yeah, it goes as such. Given the head of a sorted linked list, delete all the duplicates such that each element appears only once. Return the linked list sorted as well. And so they have an example 1 here. This is the linked list up here. So this is node 1. The first node that has a value of 1 is pointing to the next node that has a value of 1, which is pointing to the last node that's a value of 2. And they want you to return a sorted linked list that just has the duplicates removed. So in this case, the duplicate is an extra 1 here. Remove the duplicate and return a new list or the same list, however you want to do it, with 1 and 2 because you remove the duplicates. So in here, this is how it would kind of look. And I guess from a programming language perspective, it wouldn't really look like this because this is just an array. Like I said, these would need to be objects. So I don't know why LeetCode put these as examples, like these just simple arrays, but maybe that's just how they wanted to visualize it. But anyway, you say if you got a list like this, you remove the duplicates, you get that. And then this example is a little bit more complicated. You got multiple 1s, you got multiple 3s. And so you want to reduce it to 1, 2, and 3. So pretty simple. You want to reduce it down to 1, 2, and 3. And this question's so simple. Like, I don't even know if I got to really go too deep over it. Y'all can see what you need to do. You just need to remove the duplicates. The hard part with a linked list, if you don't understand programming, that's a little weird thing to say, not understand programming, but if you haven't ever programmed before and you're not used to dealing with objects and things that have properties and functions, and you don't understand those, what I want to say is, do you understand the basics concepts of like programming? If you don't, then it's something you have to kind of backtrack to and figure out. You need to know how properties on objects work. What are objects? How do you instantiate an object? Like stuff like that. You gotta have that out the way. These problems ain't for somebody that's just learning the fundamentals. So that's the hard part of this. It's not just a simple array. It's a little bit more complicated than that since it's a linked list. Since you have nodes and you have pointers and you have edges and you have values. So it's a little bit more complicated, but it's not too hard if you know what a linked list is. So there's some constraints down here. If you're in an interview, they may ask you the constraints. They may tell you the constraints like they are here. They may not. You may have to ask for the constraints in the interview. In this case, LeetCode gives you the constraints. So there'll never be more than 300, but there could be 0. So I need to handle that case when there's no nodes in the list. This list could be 300 long, or it could be 0. Could be nothing in there. The value could be negative 100, or it can be 100. That probably doesn't matter too much here. I'm just looking for duplicates, so it probably doesn't matter. Only thing that really matters is that I know these numbers aren't going to overflow the programming language that I'm going to use, the integer data type that I'm going to use in the programming language. If the number is too high or too low of the maximum number in that programming language's integer type, then you could have a problem. So that's something that you may need to ask about an interview. Like, will I ever have a number that's too large or too small for like JavaScript, for example, or whatever my programming language is that I decide to use. So the list is, and that's Bell's probably my food coming. So hopefully hopefully they're gonna just drop the food off, I hope. Anyway, the list is guaranteed to be sorted in ascending order. Yeah. So I don't have to worry about the list not being sorted. They said it was sorted, given the head of a sorted list. And yeah, so, and I need to return the sorted list. So those are constraints. So they make sense. I don't think there's anything crazy there, but it is important to talk about the constraints in the interview. So if you ever seen me do these before, like in an interview, you want to explain your thought process for how you're thinking about the problem and how you're going to solve it before you start jumping the code immediately. Now I know like a lot of times when I get on here, people are like, hey, you're taking too long to explain it, but I'm trying to teach here as well as help myself just be a better thinker and interviewer and explainer in the interview, because the worst thing you can do, or not the worst thing, but one of the bad things you can do in an interview is just go straight to the code without giving the interviewer a chance to sort of help you or give you a nudge or a hint toward the right solution if you're going down the wrong thinking pattern. So you might say, hey, I'm going to use an array here or something. You might say something just crazy, and you give them an interviewer a chance to stop you. Like, hey, it's not an array, it's a linked list, so don't go down that path. But if you just jump straight to the code and you start doing something weird, it's a less chance they're going to stop you. So you do want to like try to talk through your solution in the interview before you jump to code. Your thought process. That's really what they want to know. How you think, how you problem solve. Some companies want you to get the right answer too. Some of them don't care. It just depends. But all of them want to know your thought process. They don't want to just see that you just memorized the solution and you just went and just start typing like a robot or whatever, like you're the AI or whatever, without actually thinking through it. So anyway, when I look at this, I try to solve the problem in my head first and then explain that solution, and then take the problem I solved in my head and convert it into code based on the data structures and algorithms that I'm familiar with from my study that I've done for coding data structures and algorithms problems. So you want to have built a base first of studying the fundamentals of data structure algorithms, and then when you see these problems, you'll be able to handle them a little bit better. I'll probably talk about that after I get done, of like the strategy for studying for these types of problems, because it's not just doing a bunch of problems. That's not the best strategy. Memorizing answers and solutions is not a great strategy. A better strategy is to learn some fundamentals, and I'm going to talk about it later. It's really not as hard as it may seem to you. So, or as it may seem like I'm explaining, it may seem harder than it is based on how I'm explaining it. So anyway, we're going to stop talking about that. We're going to go into the problem. So obviously we're just removing the duplicates. So like I said, a linked list, the important thing about the linked list is the head of the linked list. And the head of the linked list is actually a value that you're going to be given that points to the first node in the linked list. In this case, it's 1, this node 1, and in example 2 is this node 1. So the function that you write will give you this object, the head of the list. So you got to have somewhere to start from. So it'll give you like this object with the head of the list. And the other important thing to know about, I'm going to move over to the code side just so you can see, is LeetCode gives you what the object looks like. The object's called lastNode. It has a value and it has a next. Like I said, the value is equal to whatever number is inside of here, and the next parameter is equal to it's the pointer to the next node. It's whatever the next node is. It's how you access the next node in the list. You gotta have, when you're on one node, you need to have some way to get to the next node programmatically. But even before we jump to the programmatic part of it, if I'm looking at it from the sense of like, if I started here in real life, just thinking about it, I started here and I needed to delete the duplicates, I would start here and then I would say, do I have any duplicates? I would probably start checking here, just thinking programmatically. I don't have any duplicates before this one, so I'm probably fine right here. Then I would go to the next one using the next, the pointer, the arrow here. And I would say, do I have a duplicate in the last one? And I'd be like, yeah, okay, the last node does have a duplicate. And so in that case, I would actually do some mutation here, I would delete this node, or I would not even delete it. I would just ignore it. I would take the pointer from this one and assign it to this node. So I would say, instead of this one, its next being set to this node, I would reassign the next for this one to this node. So I would basically like break the chain and put it back together with this one out of the loop. Would just throw that one away. And then I would end up with 1 and 2. So I hope that makes sense. Like, if just from a thinking perspective of how I would do it, I would just break this one out of the chain when I see that the last one is the same. I'll break this one out of the chain and just reconnect 1 to 2 by reassigning what this value is to point to this instead of pointing to this one. So I hope that makes sense. And you do the same thing here. You would just keep checking the last node as you get to a new node. So here I don't have a last node, so I would just skip that. Here I would say, oh, the last node I was on had a 1 in it. Now I got a 1 again. Break the chain and point this one to 2. And then here again, then I would set that equal to 2. And then, or I would move to 2. And then I would look at the last one again. Okay, it's not equal, so I'm good there. Go to 3. Okay, 2 is not equal to 3, so I'm good there. Go to this next 3. Okay, I'm seeing here I got another issue, so I would actually remove this one and point the arrow to nothing, probably in that case. But I would point it to whatever the next one is. In this case, it's nothing, so that would actually be right, would be correct. And I would end up with 1, 2, and 3. So I hope that makes sense in my mind. That's how I would explain it. I would explain it a lot faster to an interviewer, but that's how I would explain it. And then I would probably explain to them how I would do that in code. And in code, I would actually have this to look at, and I would say, I'm going to basically traverse through the linked list by looking at every value, and I'm going to save a reference to the last one I just looked at, the last node, and I'm going to check if those values are equal. And if they are equal, I'm going to basically update the next property on the last node to the value of the next node. So which will drop the current node that I'm on out of the loop. And then I'm just going to move on. I'm going to set the current node to the next node because I know I can just move on from there. So that's how I would do it programmatically. And the interviewer probably would say, on an easy problem like this, the interviewer would probably say, oh, shoot, I did not mean to do that. Where the heck did the screen go? Oh, there it is. All right, I screwed that up. All right, anyway, I didn't mean to do that, but yeah, so the interviewer, I would ask the interviewer, I'd say, hey, man, like, I probably wouldn't say, hey, man, but I'd be like, how does the solution sound to you? Like, does it, that's a valid question to ask in the interview. Now, they can say nothing. They could, blow you off. They could say, hey, do whatever you want to do. But a lot of times they will validate your idea. They will give you some sort of signal that I think you're in the right track, man. Like, go ahead and go on with that solution. I think you're in the right track. If you're way off base, some interviewers, the good ones, will actually warn you, like, hey, you're like way off here. Like, this, did you think about this? Or did you think about, that's when they'll probably step in and give you a tiny hint. And that's what you're looking for there. That's good best practice for these type of interviews, to make sure you do that validation step. So you don't have to listen to nothing else I said before, like talking through the problem or anything, but at least talk through the solution with them that you plan to do before you start coding, and just ask them that simple question. It doesn't hurt to ask. You're not going to lose points. The worst they can do is just not answer you, or just say, hey, do whatever you want to do. But at least do that. And so, yeah, anyway. So yeah, I'll probably say that, and then the interviewer will probably say, yeah, I think that's a decent solution. I think you can go ahead and continue and try to code that out. And so then I will move over here, and I noticed the part most people are probably waiting for, to start coding. So I'm gonna start coding this solution based off what I said. I'm gonna use JavaScript. I know every time I get on here, everybody like, just use Python, use Python. Well, I work mostly with JavaScript day to day in my job and with my side projects. If I was going to interview, if I'm actively interviewing, I'm using JavaScript for my coding interviews because I want to interview in the language that the job is calling for. Some people decide to just use Python all the time. Python's a great language, but JavaScript's a great language too. It's also dynamically typed. It also is very non-verbose language, so it doesn't have a lot of boilerplate. It's easy to read. So we're gonna use JavaScript. If you know Python, don't be alarmed. You're gonna be able to read the code exactly the same. Let's just be more agnostic to programming languages. And if you can read Python code, you can read JavaScript code and challenge yourself to read it. Because I know somebody gonna be like, hey, just use Python. And it's just like, you don't have to use Python for everything just because it's the most popular right now. JavaScript was most popular for the last 10 years. Python just surpassed it, at least from GitHub's perspective, their data in 2025. So it was just this year. And so JavaScript's still up there. So we're going to use JavaScript tonight, and everything's going to go hopefully well. But anyway, like I showed you before, LeetCode is giving you this because they have to give you the structure of the node. And we know that nodes have a value, and we know they have a next, which is the arrow to the next node. And each node has a value, like some number, negative, what was it? Negative, it's down here. Negative 100 to 100, some value in between that based on the constraints. So we're going to go ahead and start coding this out. So the first thing I said I was going to do is I'm going to have a current node that I'm going to be looking at, and then I'm going to have a last node that I'm looking at, and I'm going to compare the values of those nodes to see if it's a duplicate value in those nodes. And then I'm going to use the next parameter to be able to look at the next node and, set my logic together. So the first thing I think I'm going to do, the first thing I'm actually going to do, because if anybody knows JavaScript knows that like having this var here, using var is pretty much not best practice anymore, because var is going to hoist the function up to the global scope, which can cause inconsistencies in your application. If something gets hoisted where there's some duplicate function already there, it can just provide, it can not provide, but cause inconsistencies and unexpected things to happen in your application if you lose track of the scope that your functions and variables are getting hoisted to. And so by using const, this can never be redeclared. It's a more proper way to initialize this or declare this. So in this case, I'm gonna switch this to const. Now I didn't put that there. LeetCode put that there. So somebody always jump in the comments and it's like, why are you using var? And I'm like, I didn't do that. Like if you ever done LeetCode.com before, they always put var there. And I think it's because they wrote these functions like, they wrote these boilerplates like 10 years ago or whenever they first did a lot of these problems. So I'm not sure why they didn't go through and update this, but maybe it doesn't really matter in this small context. It more matters in like a real application, but it would be nice for them to go in and update that. But maybe they know better than me. Maybe they have some reason why they didn't do it. But anyway, I'm just kind of rambling with that. So the first thing I'm going to do is use let, which is another declaration just to stick it inside of this scope. It won't go outside of this scope here. And I'm going to say current node. And like I said, the head is what's getting passed in. That is an instance of lastNode, which that's what this is up here. And in JavaScript, this says function, but in JavaScript, a lot, especially back in the day before there was like classes in the latest ECMAScript versions, functions were used to create objects, like kind of like object generators, like you would do with classes in other languages. Now JavaScript has classes. They've had it for a long time, but I think this is it's another thing from LeetCode where they just have like a lot of outdated things. But basically, using this function, if you say new list node and it's passing the variables needed here, it will return a list node object like this. And so that's basically what LeetCode is saying. It's like this head is just going to be the node. It's going to be the first node in the list here, this node right here. And so hopefully that makes sense, because that's the kind of stuff you kind of got to just understand like before you even do the problem. If you get to an interview and you don't even understand like these basic type of things, it ain't no point like in starting. Like you need to go back to just practicing. And maybe I'll do a whole live just on like practicing, just getting into LeetCode, getting into data structures and algorithms in general, because it is going to be different than what you learn at a boot camp and the practical things that you learn when you self-teach. You do learn it in college. That's one of the advantages in college, that most CS majors gonna have a data structures and algorithms type of course. So it helps, but a lot of times you forget it by the time you graduate, like I did. So anyway, so yeah, I'm gonna set the head to the current node because that's the node I'm currently looking at. And I'm also gonna have a last node that I keep track of, but I'm gonna set it to null because if I'm at the start, then there is no last node. So I'm gonna set it to null, which basically is like undefined, or it's not exactly undefined in JavaScript, but it's similar. It just means it's empty. And now I need to basically loop through my linked list. And so this might be wrong, but I think I'm gonna start with a while loop. And I'm gonna keep this while loop going while current node. And this is just basically saying while current node is not null, while it exists, while it's not null or undefined, I'm gonna just keep that the way it is. Or yeah, I'm gonna keep the loop going. I don't know what the heck I'm talking about. One thing I didn't mention is up here is like next doesn't have to have something defined. If not, it'll just return null. So that's important to know. And same with value. If value is undefined, then it's gonna just get set to 0. I don't know why they put 0. I guess it has to be an integer. It's got to be something. But usually somebody will probably put a value in there. But that's JavaScript. Like JavaScript, you have to do this type of value checking because it's dynamically typed. And there's no like type checking on anything, so this type could be anything. So that's why this validation is sort of done here. So this very crude validation is not perfect. If you wanted that, you use TypeScript, but we're just using JavaScript. And yeah, so while this node is still alive, while there's still something in it, like I said, I want to check currentNode.value. That's the value. If it's if it's equal to the last node dot value. If it's equal to that, I want to do something special, or I want to do something. I don't know why I'm calling it special, but I just want to do something specific. The thing is, last node could be null, so I actually need to put I think it's called a nullist operator. Y'all, somebody in the comments tell me what that is. But this basically says if this is null, just don't try to access the variable because that would cause a runtime exception in JavaScript. So don't try to access this if this is null or undefined. But if it is something in here, like if this is an object, then give me the value out of it. So this is just an easy way for me to not have to do like a bunch of extra code to like check the value of this, because this will be null the first time we run through this code. And so in that case, I actually will just skip this whole thing and go into like the else case. And the else case is, so anyway, let's go through our two cases. So if the current value is equal to the last node value, that means I got a duplicate. That means if I was at this node and this was the last node and these two values equal, I need to do this thing where I chop out this one and point this one all the way to the next one. And so how can I do that within the code? So what I can do is I can basically say the last node next, that's its pointer. That's its pointer to the next node that it's pointing to. That's how it sets its arrow to the next node. I can actually set that equal to the current node node.next. And so, not next. Wait, yeah, would it be the current? Yeah, current node. Yeah, so the next, yeah, it would be the last node dot next, and I would set it equal to the current node dot next. Yeah, because I want to rip out the current node. See, it gets confused. I want to rip out the current node and point the last node's pointer to the next one. So I think that's right. And if it's not a duplicate, I just want to move on to the next node in that case. So I think I want to set current node equal to currentNode.next. And I might actually do that. I might actually have to do that anyway. Yeah, so I'm setting current node equal to currentNode.next. And then the other thing I need to do is, oh wait, cause yeah, so lastNode.next equals currentNode.next. That's correct. lastNode.next equals currentNode.next. So that'll skip out the current node. And then, but I still need to update the current node. So I actually probably need to do that down here. I'm probably messing something up. Current node still needs to be set equal to currentNode.next. So this probably always needs to happen down here, but something different needs to happen here. So if last node equals next, if last node, or where am I messing up at? Yeah, something is missing. If current value equals the last node, then the last node next needs to equal to current node dot next. Or I can set, or I could set, yeah, I gotta update the last node next to the current node.next. Yeah, so that makes sense. And then if that's not the case, then I simply want to just update the current node and the last node. Okay, so yeah, then here I actually want to update the last node to be the current node. In this case, I don't actually want to update the last node because I just removed something from the whole thing. And so I just want to update the current node. So yeah, I think this is right. So yeah, I got while it's current node, if they're equal, point the last node's next to the current node's next. So I'll basically rip the chain and just make those equal so they're the same. So I get the object out of here and set it equal to this so that it points together. I think that makes sense because in JavaScript, these objects are references instead of actual just value. So it's just going to be a pointer. So I think that's right. And then else, then I need to update the last node, but then I'll also always update the current node to whatever is the next one. So I think that makes sense. And then at the end, I'm going to return the head of the list because the problem said return the head of the list. Oh, and then my bad, man. People that jumped in, I meant to put this on the top. I always forget this. I meant to put the problem on the top of the screen. Yeah. So somebody said I need to use a set. Why do I need to use a set, man? I mean, I don't know how using a set helps because that'll use more space. Why would you use extra space if you don't need to? If you can just do it all with the loop, then you don't want to start setting up extra data structures if you don't have to, because that actually wastes space. And in this case, I'm not using any additional space on top of the linked list. So you gotta be careful. Like something that may seem easier, like it may seem easier to do, it actually can be less performant than what you're doing, so just had to be careful about that. Yeah, anyway, yeah, so gonna return the head. All right, so I actually don't know if this is right, man. So a lot of times when you get to this point in the interview, at least for me, the code looks right. A lot of times you get this point, you want to review the code again, which I just did it like 3 or 4 times. I reviewed it, so I think I've reviewed it enough. I'm not gonna keep doing that. But some interviews, they're gonna have a runner for you to run the code in some sort of executor or compiler or whatever your language is. It just depends. And sometimes they don't. Sometimes they want you to explain to them that your code works by trying it out by hand and just making sure it works. And so how I do that, if I'm gonna go through both ways. If I have to do that, what I usually do is I'm gonna take the problem from over here, the example I mean from over here. I'm just gonna use comments to sort of the output should be 1 and 2, but I'm gonna delete that. But I'm just using this to keep track of all my variables. So current node, that's not equal to nothing yet. And last node. And yeah, so the head will always be just whatever's in here. And yeah, so we're gonna do it like that. And I'll probably just update this as we go, but I'm gonna leave this like this. This is input. So I'm gonna put like input by that one just to make sure it's clear. And these are my variables. So I'm gonna go line by line. I'm just gonna make sure this code works like I think it does. So when I come in here, current node is gonna get set to head. And so this is actually not what head actually is the 1. Like it's the 1. And I'm gonna put it like that because I'm gonna show that it's like it's a node, like it's an object. It's not an array. So I don't know why LeetCode does that. It's actually would be like, it should be like this. Like this is actually a more better representation of what's happening. There's arrows pointed to different nodes. This is a better way to represent. I've seen LeetCode represented like this. The head is pointed to the first node, which is pointing to, was actually equal to the first node, actually. And then which is pointing to the next node, which is pointing to the next node. So yeah, I'm gonna set head. This first line I'm setting head equal to current node, which is gonna put that node there. And the last node is just gonna be null, because that's getting run right here. These two things will just be run immediately. And then I'll go into this while loop. While current node is not null, there's something in there. Then does current node value, and I probably need to add I'm gonna add something for that so we can see. Oh, I don't have to do that because it's already inside the thing right here. So does current node value equal last node value if last node exists? Last node don't exist. So this is not even gonna run. I mean, this inside of here isn't gonna run. This is gonna go false. And I'm gonna say last node equals the current node. So I'm gonna set last node equal to the current node. And then I'm gonna get here, current node equals currentNode.next. The current node is here, so currentNode.next is this next one right here. So it's actually gonna stay the same thing, but it's this one right here. Which, yeah, I guess I can't really, it's hard to kind of show the differences since they're the same thing. But basically, current node is pointed to this one, and last node is pointed to this one at this point. And so then I'm gonna come back to the top of the top of the loop, and then the current node is still alive, it's still true. Is current node value equal to last node value? Now it actually is. So now I'm gonna set the last node next to the current node next. Yeah, dang, that's hard to do because I don't have that. Yeah, I don't have that. How can I represent? Yeah, this is a hard one to represent. I actually need to show the pointer. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm actually gonna start this one over. I'm gonna start over and show y'all, and y'all gonna hopefully understand why I start over. So this is the head. This is coming right here. I'm gonna set current node equal to the head. I'm gonna actually set current node equal to this, and it's pointing to this. So I know I'm gonna have the pointer with it as I move it around, because as I set it to these variables, because you need to know what the next pointer is. And then this one's still gonna be null. So I just went through these two steps. Go through this again. Of course, we know this is gonna be false. So we're not gonna go in here. We're gonna set last node equal to current node. So I'm gonna copy this to last node. And then current node is gonna be equal to currentNode.next, which is this node. This node is pointing to this node. So I'm actually gonna copy this and replace that. So now it actually looks like what's actually happening. And you can represent this in different ways. You have to represent this how I represent. You can represent this in an object, probably be cleaner. Actually, now I'm like thinking about it in retrospect, it probably been better for me to do an object. But this, I think, will still work too. So I'm going to come back here. Is current node value equal to last node value? Yes, the values are the same on the nodes themselves, not what they're pointing to. But then here, I'm going to set last node, which is this one, next, equal to the current node's next. So last node next is this. The current node's next is 2. And so I'm actually going to set last node's next to the current node's next, which is going to actually update this one to 2. And so now the last node is pointing from 1 to 2. And then I'm actually going to update current node to currentNode.next. And so by updating that, I'm actually getting this 2 that's pointing to nothing. So it's just going to be 2 and it's pointing to null. It's like not pointing to anything. And then I'm going to come back up here again. And it's going to say still something in here. And then it's current node equal to last node. No, it's not. So then it's going to go here. Last node equals current node. So then it's going to update to this one. And it's going to update current node to this next thing, which in this case, it's just going to be null. And then we're going to hit this. And it's going to say, while this is something, it's not nothing anymore. So, I mean, it's not anything anymore. So it's null. So I'm actually going to drop out of this loop and return the head of the linked list. And since now I've actually mutated the linked list by pulling this out, by changing where this last node pointed to, it's actually just like this now. And I know I didn't represent that great because I don't know. I didn't think about trying to how to represent this with text beforehand. It probably would have been better if I used objects. But basically that's how I would probably explain. I probably try to do something a little bit better in the interview though, because it's a little bit hard to explain exactly why. And somebody asked, why are you deleting the duplicates? Because look at the top of my screen. I know it's tiny, like it's hard to put the problem, but that's the problem I'm doing. The problem is saying remove duplicates from a sorted linked list. And so that's what I'm doing right now. So yeah, delete the duplicates. So yeah, it looks like it worked. It gave me 1 and 2. That's what I'm looking for. My output is 1 and 2. And so I think that's good. So I'm going to erase this. And so in an interview, like I said, you might have to prove it to them. So if I prove it to him that it works, he might ask me to do example 2, where he might try to throw a curveball at me like, hey, how about this weird scenario? Like, what if head is null? So if head is null, current node will get set to null. And then when I get here, I'll just error out. I mean, not error out. I'll just skip this whole while loop because it's null. And then I'll return null. So it handles the case when there's nothing in there too. But then after that, I'll probably be done. Now, other interviews, they might let you run it and they might make you run it against the test cases programmatically, like with an application, like with their runner or whatever they got running. And LeetCode lets you do that actually. So I'm actually going to press the run button up here and run this code and see if it works. Yeah, so it looks like for test case 1, I dropped it down to 1 and 2, removed the duplicates. Test case 2. That's 1, 1, 2, 3, 3. I know why they're using an array. So they're using an array, and then in the back end on LeetCode.com, they're transforming this array into a linked list before they pass it in as the head into the function. It's still not a good way to represent it though, I feel like. But anyway, that's how they're doing it. So yeah, so yeah, for example, test case 1 and 2 got the right answer. So that would be good in the interview so far. And then what they're going to ask is for you to explain the time and space complexity. So space and time complexity are how we describe the complexity of an algorithm as it relates to scale. How does our algorithm perform with space and time as the size of the input grows? Does it perform uniformly or linearly? Does it exponentially perform worse as the scale rises, as more input comes in? How bad does it get if it performs worse as more scale comes in? And the reason big companies ask these type of problems, they want to know how you can optimize algorithms, because these companies like Google that first started asking these types of questions, to the Facebooks, the FANG companies, Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google, Microsoft, all these big companies, they're at the forefront of scale. So in technical scale, they have to deal with the largest scale. They're kind of the groundbreakers of scale, really. And so they ask their programmers, like, you could write a bad algorithm that could cost the company hundreds of thousands of dollars if it's not making efficient use of time and space, which in turn makes inefficient use of a CPU's CPU resources on the machine, random access memory, RAM resources on the machine. It can cause bugs, crashes, downtime. It just costs money. It can cause token usage if they're calling some sort of service inside your algorithm. That's why they ask these questions. They seem stupid and trivial, which they are to a degree, but that's why they ask these questions at those big companies, and then all these other companies just copy them, and then everybody's asking them. So I don't really agree with these types of questions, but at least right now, even with AI coming, there's still a lot of companies are still asking these, so we still do them. So anyway, back to time complexity. It's described in big O notation. So you have to put it in one of these boxes and describe it as one of the types of big O notations to describe how the algorithm scales as far as time and space complexity. And so put a comment here. So there's time complexity. I'm gonna just try to write this down. And there's space complexity. So time complexity, start with that one. Time complexity is how many operations are running, which that would in turn cause CPU cycle, CPU usage on your machine, CPU utilization. Anybody watching this knows what that is. Like if you go on your computer you're watching probably on your phone, but if you go on your laptop or computer and go, look at your activity monitor, or look at I can't remember what it's called on Windows. That's crazy. I can't remember that. I haven't used Windows in so long. Some kind of activity monitor. You can go and look at your CPU usage. When you start putting more programs, they're running more operations, which start to use the CPU. And so this is the same thing with this algorithm that I'm running. And so time complexity is measuring based on the size of my input. In this case, my input is the head here of this linked list. The size of that, and whenever you get confused about the size, the constraints can help. In this case, at worst case, the size of the nodes from the head, where the head is pointing to, this list, the size of this linked list can be up to 300 characters. So in this case, it's kind of like small, that's relatively small for programming. But imagine if this was 1 million. Imagine if this is Google and you're serving 100 million users or something. And this is 100 million, or it's even 100,000, or whatever the case is. This value doesn't matter as much, but this size of this linked list that I have to process, because I have to remove, if this is 100,000, I have to remove duplicates. There could be like 1,000 duplicates in a row that I have to remove. And so I have to go through every node and point to the next node to get rid of the duplicates. And since it's sorted, it makes it easy. That's why this problem's easy, because it's sorted. So I know when I go to the next node, I only really need to look at the last one before it, because it's sorted. So I can delete the nodes one at a time. And so in this case, the size of this is the length of the linked list. So it could be up to 300. This operation runs, but it doesn't. Big O notation is how does the algorithm scale in relation to the size of your input. These two lines here that run, they just run once, no matter if this is one thing in here or this is 1,000 things in here. This will always just run one time. So it's nominal. It's constant time. It's just going to run. It doesn't scale with the size of the input. As this scales up, these two lines will still only ever run one time. Now, this is where you actually have some stuff that comes into play for time and space complexity, because this loop is going to go on however many things I have in the linked list. I have to loop through for every single thing in the linked list. I have to run this code over again and process whether there's a duplicate and take that duplicate out. And so this thing if it's 300 things in here, this thing is running 300 times. If there's 1 million things in here, this thing is running 1 million times. These things in here, they're also running the 1 million times, but they're running one each. And when I get inside of here, so this whole part, just unless I'm doing something in here that's actually running more than once, it actually just gets covered by this. I can kind of cover it in my notation by the fact that it's being looped here at scale. Because these lines in here are always going to run one time once you're inside of one iteration of the loop. And at scale, it really doesn't add anything. Since all these are constant operations, it doesn't add anything nominal, that anything that adds any notable impact greater than the impact of this while loop, if that makes sense. I know it's hard to explain, but yeah, that's basically how big O notation reduces down to whatever the worst case, the most impactful things in your algorithm. In this case, in this algorithm, it's this loop. This always runs one time. It's this loop. It's the most impactful thing. This thing loops linearly to the size of the input, which is the head of this linked list. And so in that case, that can be described, it can be called linear, or the big O notation of it is big O of n. And let's call the size of this linked list, let's call it n. Let's give it a variable name n. Big O notation uses n most of the time. It's just an arbitrary value, but it stands for the size of your input. And so big O of n basically says that this algorithm performs linearly to the size of the input. So however much input I have at scale, worst case 300, this is going to run 300 times. If this was, this might not be 300. This might be 4,000 or 5 or a million or whatever. This is going to run 1 million times. So it's running linear to it. It may seem bad, but that's actually pretty good for if you can get to linear in an interview, you're usually doing pretty good. Big O of n. Space complexity. Now this is why I answered the guy earlier about saying why not use a set here. So space complexity measures how much additional space to the current, the existing thing that's getting passed in, the existing object, how much additional data structures in addition to the original one that's getting passed in am I using in my algorithm. In my case, I'm not using any additional data structures. I'm just using simple variables like this head here. I just set it equal to the thing I was passing in, so it's not additional. It's the same thing. This is just one variable that I'm setting to one of the nodes. All that's in here are just constant space. I'm not creating any new arrays. I'm not creating any new data structures. I'm not creating a new hash map. I'm not creating a new array. I'm not creating a new set like the guy said earlier. I'm not creating anything new. I'm just using what I got and I'm mutating it. Now, if I create something new, that uses additional space in my algorithm and additional RAM on the machine that I'm running on. And so that's not great. That may be fine while there's 300 things in RAM in memory at the time that this is running, but it may not be okay if these nodes are large in size and I have 1 million of them and I have to put them all in a set and they're all unique, for example, and I have to put them all in a set. I have to put 1 million things in a set. That's a large chunk of additional RAM I'm using up that I didn't need to use because I could write this algorithm without using any set or any additional space. And so you don't want to double the space you're using just because it makes it easier to solve the problem. You want to actually solve the problem optimally. That's what an interview is going to ask you. If you go use a set on this problem, the interviewer if you have time, they're going to ask you hey, can you do this in a more optimal way that leads to a better time or space complexity? They're probably going to ask you about the space complexity. And so in this case, I'm not using additional space. So this actually, like I said, is a constant, or big O. That's actually described as big O of 1. I'm just typing crazy. Big O of 1 that stands for constant space. So I'm using my space complexity is constant or big O of 1. No matter what the size of this grows to, I'm just using constant space as far as just saving these variables in here. Nothing. I'm not using any additional data structures that grow with the size of my input. I'm just using these constant variables that they'll always be used in the same way in relation to the size of my input. And there's nothing additional I'm using on top of just mutating the same thing that got passed in. So I hope that makes sense. Time complexity is big O of n. Space complexity is big O of 1. Now I know that probably sounded wordy, and that seemed like, why are you talking so long about this time and space complexity if you've never done one of these interviews? For y'all that done this stuff, I know this is easy for y'all. Y'all understand all this. I get it. All that stuff like that. So so y'all might think it's easy, but you have to talk about this in the interview. This is the reason they're asking the problems. So you have to be able to describe the space and time complexity. So somebody asking here, where does it say you yapping for a minute on the easy stuff? Hey man, everybody ain't like you, man. Everybody ain't a king like you and know everything. You know what I mean? Like everybody ain't a know-it-all. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to explain for people that's new to this. So you true to this, they new to it. So I don't know. You the man, so I'm just trying to help people out here. But anyway, somebody asked right before I read that one. They said, why'd you redefine the head? Because current node is actually changing. So I actually need head is just the initial state of current node, but current node gets redefined like every step here. So I'm not actually redefining what the head is. I'm just setting it as the initial state of the current node, and which does change later. I mean, I just reuse it down here. It's actually not ever being redefined. I'm actually not ever what'd you say? Yeah, you said redefine. I'm not actually redefining it. I'm just mutating it in place and then returning it at the end here. But I create a whole new object and just set this as the initial state. So I hope that makes sense. I need to get back on LeetCode. Yeah, never too late, man. I mean, hopefully AI comes in and all the companies stop asking this, but I don't know. I'm not actively interviewing right now, but I got coworkers and friends, not coworkers, but friends that are actively interviewing, and they're still asking these questions. So at like some of the big FANG companies. So some of them are starting to wise up and they're starting to like do more like AI driven interviews. But it's gonna take some time to get there. So until that day, I'm gonna keep doing these on here. How much AI are you using when coding? A lot. Like for my personal projects, it's probably the AI is probably doing like 90% of the code, maybe higher at certain times. The initial build of the code, I'm using AI for like my personal stuff, like from the start. Like so. Give it a prompt, give it all the context it needs. I'm mostly just managing the context, and then I'm reviewing the code that AI does. If there's like some tweak I need to make, or the AI is taking too long to understand what I'm asking it to do, then I might jump in there and fix some code and tweak some things around, move some stuff around how I want it. Because I've been coding for years, some people probably won't try to go fix some things that I may fix because they probably came through college with AI or whatever, and they may think that, oh, it's not worth it. But there's some things I can tell that the AI is being either over aggressive on or, things that are not best practice that I want to fix. So anyway, to answer your question, I use probably like 80, 90%, probably 90+%. And even at work, like we get a new task, the AI is going to take the first shot at it. Like it's going to take the first shot at the code. I'm going to give it all the context it needs, different parts of the code base, documentation. I might write an instruction file, or there might be an instruction file already there, or I may adapt it for the new problem that I'm doing, or I may give it, I may take time to write up an appropriate prompt, but it just depends on what I'm being asked to do. I may give a solution document if I'm like doing some big grand thing. I may give it the solution document that I wrote. And even that, I probably got AI to help me write that. So I'm using AI a lot. So I think we're in a state where we have to embrace it. Do I think the human's gonna get kicked out of the loop anytime soon? I'm not that progressive on AI as far as it like taking over. I think it will. It has already started to take away jobs. Like there's gonna be the need for probably less programmers, but the programmers that are left are gonna have to be good, like with AI. So I just don't think that a human's gonna be completely left out of the loop. And there's still gonna be software engineers, not programmers, that are still gonna be there to do problem solving. Like that's all we really ever were problem solving within the context of software development and coding. And now we just got a new tool that helps us do the coding part, but we're still having to solve the same problem. So, and we're still having to direct the AI and manage the AI. So, that's kind of where I'm at. Whittington, I launched a company with AI. MVP cost me $500 in AI credits to build. $500? And that seemed like a lot. 500 in AI credits? That seemed like a lot to build. I mean, I guess it just gets depending on what you're building. I mean, I guess the more complicated it is, it could take a long time. But yeah, $500 seemed like, I feel like you could build a startup. You could build an MVP for a startup now with AI for like just a $20 subscription, you know. But it depends on what you're building. I think Whittington, you're probably building something a little bit more complex, I'm guessing. But that seemed like a lot. Like, but I guess if you're paying Claude $200 a month, and it take you 2.5 months or whatever, then I guess you get there pretty quick. Oh yeah, so yeah, you saying it's a big project eating through your credits. Okay. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, that makes a lot of sense in that case. So I mean, I just think like, yeah, now it's like, especially for greenfield development, like brand new development, like AI is just chewing through it. Like it's nothing, man. You know. But I think when there's complexity of like legacy code and we have a existing customer base at a multi-million-dollar company, it becomes a little bit more complicated. You got like a lot of security regulations, banking regulations. Like it becomes a little bit more complicated where sometimes the AI answer isn't the right answer. Like if you worked as a software developer, sometimes the most logical, programmatic, technical answer is not what the business is requiring you to do. And that's where the human still is coming in at, to make the choice to tell the AI, okay, I know this is the best way to do it, but I really need you to do it like this because this customer that pays us $3 million a year, they want it done like this. It doesn't matter that the AI knows the best way to do it and the AI is going to do it right. It matters that the customer is only going to pay for it if we do it like this and keep it in this terrible way that it was done. The customer's always right is like the core of business. It's like always been, always will be. And so the AI, if it doesn't have the context to know that your biggest customer likes your code to be stupid, then it messes it up. And that's why this whole thing of context engineering, like software engineers turning to context engineers. We've always been that though. Like just because we coded a little bit more before, or a lot more before, those are the same problems that we're still going to have to deal with. Now it will be less of us because there's not going to need to be as many just programmers that just, some people, I knew a lot of people I worked with, they just wanted to come to work and code. They didn't want to solve the big problems. They didn't want to be trying to think through nothing. Give me tasks, let me code. Those are the ones most at risk. Because if you just want to come and like literally have somebody tell you every single answer of what to code, like exactly line by line, like what to code, and you just want to code it like logically, then yeah, it's gonna be tough because the AI can do that. That's what the AI is excelling at. Like when you tell it exactly what to do, give it the context, it's killing that. But it's the context that the code can't reach. It's the salesperson that's been at the company for 10 years that knows that when we sell this, we got to do it like this. It has to work like this because the customers, they like it like this. They don't like it like the way AI thinks it should be. They like it like this. This is what we've sold 100 million blank blank blanks for, and they need somebody to give that AI the context. Now, if you're like Whittington, you're starting a startup, you're a one-man company, then it's just you. You're giving it the context. And that's why people have been able to start startups like crazy right now, or just do utility apps or whatever like crazy. And so, it makes sense. But like for like enterprise software, it's just a little bit different. So, hey, this is the AI rant for the night. It's always gonna be an AI rant every time I do these. But anyway, I'm gonna answer some more questions, but I'm gonna jump back to the problem real quick. And because there's one more thing I need to do. I've gave y'all the time complexity, or the interviewer the time complexity. This looks right. I'm gonna submit it. LeetCode has a submit button where it runs it against a bunch of their test cases, and it lets me know if I like how I performed against all the other users on LeetCode. So I'm gonna run it and see what I get. So yeah, fortunately it got accepted out of 168 test cases, 1 millisecond runtime, which beat 37%, which you gotta take that with a grain of salt. I say that every time. If I ran this again, it'll probably give me something different. But the reason I want to do this was just analyze what they say the time complexity, linear, or what? Why is this looking like this? It's just big O of N. Linear or big O of N. Why is it all like one word? That's weird. I never seen that before. It seemed like a bug. But it should just be big O of N like I put, and linear like I put. But this all together like this, I don't know what the heck that is. Something weird LeetCode is doing. Memory, constant, or big O of 1. I don't know what the heck's wrong with this, but it's really this, big O of 1 or constant. And that's exactly what I had, I think. Yeah. So linear, big O of N, or constant, or big O of 1. Like I said, it's an easy problem. So I know some of y'all are just like trucking through this, but I could tell by the comments, some people, by the questions that are being asked, there are people that are new to it. So I think this is very helpful. Even doing these easy problems is very helpful because linked lists, once you wrap your mind around them, they can get a lot easier. But even for somebody that's been doing LeetCode, doing a few easies, once they run in a linked list, it's not something that you may always run into, especially if you didn't go through traditional college education. So you may not have even run into linked lists before, and it's not something you run into on a job either, in most jobs. So anyway, Adesh on YouTube, let's go, bro. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate the support. Vi exclusive, what do you program, bro? I'm doing a problem from LeetCode.com. The problem's at the top. I just finished it. And yeah, I'm coding JavaScript. I think that answers everything you're asking about. Yeah, so yeah, I'm gonna answer some more questions. Oh, Whittington, that's a good question. I mean, that's a good comment. Haven't seen a company as hard as recently. That's interesting. Maybe they're starting to calm down on, because the hard ones was stupid, man. Like, I only got a couple. The last time I was doing like an interview run, I got a couple hard level questions, and they take the whole 45 minutes. And it's just stupid because they come in an interview, they don't say nothing, they don't have any time to say anything to you, and they immediately like ask you this hard question you literally got to spend a whole time answering. And it's like you don't even have time to talk to them or ask any questions or anything. And you have to do that problem almost perfectly. Even if you've done it before, you almost have to do it perfectly to meet the time, because these problems they take so long to code. And then you're in an interview state, so you're trying to talk through what you're doing, so you're going a little bit slower, and you're nervous, you know what I'm saying? So you got to deal with that. So you're going a little bit slower than you would normally go. So the only way to beat these hard questions is to like practice them so much that you just get extremely fast. Like you get unnaturally fast with doing them, which to me defeats the purpose. Then it becomes gameable. It's a video game. It's like a Super Mario speed run at that point. And that defeats the purpose of what they was even asking this stuff for. They weren't asking this for you to do a speed run. And that's what ends up happening with the hard question. That's why I like a company that We'll ask a medium, 30-minute problem max. Give you time to ask some questions. Give you time to mess up a little bit. Give them time to really see how you deal with the problem and how you think, versus just trying to just give you the hardest problem and just see if you can get it right. Like, that don't help, man. Because people remember, eventually what I see, people struggle. They'll fail 3 or 4 interviews. And then you just get beat down so bad that you just end up memorizing all the problems. And that don't mean you're a good programmer. That just means you just got beat down into memorizing it. You lost so much that you just memorized the hard questions. And that's what I see happening for a lot of people. A lot of people that get into FANG companies, a lot of them are great. There's a lot of like smart, like amazing people that just got in there because they just know it. But there's a lot of leak code memorizers and grinders that just gamified it, and they get in there and then they drop out in a year. Or they not drop out, but they quit the company in a year because it's like, this is too much pressure. They get PIP, get performance improvement plan, and then they get pushed out the company because it's like there's pros and cons to the leak code style interviews. So I know I'm just rambling now, but anyway, Wimbayama Jr. leak code makes me cry at night. It's so stressful. Yeah, it's crazy. But we got hope, man. You know, AI is kind of coming for stuff. People on the fence about AI. They hate it. They like it, whatever. But at least AI, it seems like, I think AI is probably going to kill the coding challenge interview. Now, don't be fooled. Like, these companies not about to be giving away, especially like Facebooks and Amazon. They're not be in Netflix and stuff. They're not going to be giving away $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 jobs because you got a ChatGPT subscription. Like, they're not about to be giving away these jobs easy. The interview's still gonna be hard. Like, it's still gonna be tough. Like, so don't think just because like the interview's gonna get easier because they go toward AI. They're gonna allow you to use AI in the interview, but that means they're gonna make the interview pretty difficult because they're gonna make it to the point they're gonna say, I just posted something today that didn't get any likes, but it was just about that AI isn't leveling the playing field as much as people think. And I think when people get excited about coding interviews going, like the coding challenge, leak code style interviews going away and them letting you use AI, they're thinking it's like even in the playing field, and it's really not. Like, if you didn't work hard on leak code before, even when they change to this new system, which I do predict that they will, most companies will, if you don't practice just as hard as you did on the leak code for this new style, you're still not going to win. They're not going to just be giving away these jobs. Like, they're not going to do it. So you're not going to be able to just get a ChatGPT thing and then they get on the interview and then just put the prompt in there and it's just going to give you everything you need. They're a little bit wiser than that. You know what I mean? So, that's why I posted today. I said, hey man, make sure y'all still learning something, man. Like, you can use the AI as much as you want to, but like, use the advantage of having AI. It's the best teacher. Like, it can teach you exactly. You can tell it how you want it to teach you. You can tell it exactly the question you want. It can give you a targeted response. You ask a targeted question, give you a targeted response, and let it teach you something while you're doing this. Like, yes, it does need to help you be more productive. You need to build at a fast speed, but like, review some of the stuff it's doing and make sure you're like growing yourself too at the same time, because you never know when you get to an interview or get to some situation where it's like you're being separated from the people that have just been working harder than you. Even within the confines of using AI, there's still levels to the thing. You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying. That's what I was saying today, because like, I can see people slipping into like laziness with this AI thing where they're thinking, oh, the AI levels the playing field, so I don't really have to prove my skills at all. I don't really have to get better at using AI. I don't really have to learn anything. I don't have to memorize anything anymore. It's like, yeah, that is true to some degree. I'm not saying it's not, but it's also like not true to a lot of degree as well. Like, it's like you still can get outworked. Like, so just don't let yourself be in that position. So that's my ramble about the AI thing. Can you check code on one of my mods? I mean, if you DM me, man, we can maybe see if that's something I can do. I mean, I'm not gonna just do a bunch of work, like for nothing, but mostly what I do in the DMs is just advice. So if you just DM me, let me know what your problem is. I love to give like free advice, just help people out, like their career problems they're having. I'm not gonna do anybody's homework or nothing like that if they're in a boot camp or in school. I'm not gonna do your homework for you, but I can definitely help you through some problems. So hopefully, man, you'll DM me on whatever platform you're on. I think TikTok, and just we can have a discussion, because I would love to like just help with you, man, or help you, whatever. Are you using R Studio? No, I heard of R Studio. I actually interviewed for a job. I think the company that made R Studio, and I didn't. I turned it down though, for some reason, or I don't know. I can't remember. Um, yeah, Whittington, man, he gives advice too, man. Whittington, go check out his content too. He's on TikTok. He's funny, and he's smart too, but he's funny. But yeah, he gives advice too. Sometimes his advice, yeah, is you gotta take it with a grain of salt, cause sometimes he'll troll you. He'll like lead you in, and then then he'll throw a curveball in there. But anyway, he's a cool dude. So is web dev saturated? I don't know if saturated is the right word at this point. I feel like the job market is in a recession. So I wouldn't say it's saturated. I would just say the job market is bad, like more than saturated. People were saying that like before, and now I think time has proven that I don't think it was more or less saturated. Because like in 2020 with the boom, where like it was crazy, man. It was like people was getting big offers. People was turning down. I turned down jobs, man. Like it was just crazy. Like right after when the pandemic was starting to turn, and these tech companies were making all this money, and they overhired. Like these tech companies were hiring like crazy. And so, yeah, I mean, you could say that it's like oversaturated or whatever, but when you look up the numbers of people that actually program, like I mean, we were, the market was underserved for a long time, and it seemed like it's oversaturated, but actually the market was underserved for a long time. It's just trying to find the jobs. But now I do think it's not just web dev. It's like every sub skill within programming or whatever, front end, back end, web dev, whatever, is starting to kind of seem like it's oversaturated due to the market. But I think it's gonna turn around. I hope. Anyway, I'm a FANG engineer, and it's a struggle to find another job. Before, jobs were handed out like candy. Yeah, so he saw what I was talking about. Like, yeah, it was like before the pandemic. And then when the pandemic started, it kind of dipped. But then right when the company started to find a footing right after the pandemic, like I'll say like 2021, 2022, like it was good. But then when 2024, and 2025, it's just been rough, man. Like, especially 2024 and 2025, the job market's been crazy. It's like everybody, it's like my ex-coworkers, it took some of them months, man, years, some of them like over a year, man, to find a job. Like, and they got great experience. So it wasn't even a thing of where like there were newcomers. Like this guy saying he's a FANG engineer. He's been at a FANG company. Getting a FANG company on your resume used to be like an instant job. Like you just get another job instantly. Like, but now it's like everybody's struggling. So it's so competitive now, just because there's just not that many jobs. And so, yeah, I'm glad you said that, Rody, because yeah, it's a good point, man. Good perspective coming from a FANG company engineer. Leave it to me. Build small projects, stack function, and use. Oh, you're talking about that wasn't leave it to me. You were typing to somebody. Okay. How do you suggest I grasp the concepts of JavaScript? There's a lot of ways. I mean, figure out how you learn. Do you learn more by YouTube, like video style? Then I'll probably say YouTube. Just go find the best person you can find to teach you on YouTube. If you learn more through like courses, I think there's like JavaScript 25 still exists. Wasn't it called? Does it not exist anymore? Dang, that's crazy. I think it was something called JavaScript 25 or something. Or maybe I'm tripping. I don't know, but there's also I don't know, I'm just tripping out on that one. I guess Free Code Camp is a good resource. I'm just trying to find free resources. Paid resources, just Google. Just Google. There's so many good paid resources now. It's like I can't even really call it, but like Free Code Camp is well renowned. It's free. Will teach you the fundamentals of JavaScript. It's interactive. That's how I learned more about like reading and being able to like track and go back to things. So I would suggest that or YouTube. And I mean, top of the line, man, I would suggest AI like teach you after you kind of get the footing of it. Then start like letting AI teach you. Like AI is like one of the best teachers, man, if you use it right, because you can just ask it such a targeted question, man. Like, instead of Googling like we did before. So, yeah, hopefully it answers that question. NeetCode is the best. Yeah, NeetCode is basically a curated list of questions from LeetCode that are supposed to be the best return on investment if you do those problems to get a job in FANG or get a job in a big tech company or a small tech company that emulates the questions of the big tech companies. NeetCode is considered like one of the best ways if you don't have a lot of time to study or if you want to optimize your study using NeetCode. I think it's NETCOD.io. And it's a pretty simple site. Some guy, I think I seen him on Twitter. I think that built it. Yeah, and it's just pretty simple concepts. You go through them, and it's just list of problems in each one. And he basically, his bet is that if you do this curated list, you just do all these problems. Don't worry about like trying to like just do a million problems on LeetCode.com. If you just follow this structure and just go through these problems, he said by the time you get to the end of it, you should be able to get a job because these are the concepts you'll learn from doing these problems will show up in all the problems or most of the problems that you'll get asked. So it's a good way. Like it's like he said, it's king. I think it is probably like as far as resource that gets most love and most recommendations is probably NeetCode. As far as like something to accompany LeetCode.com. There's also like I think Groking the Interview. It's like a book, or something like that. Groking the Interview Process or Grokking, whatever you want to call it. I like is Algo Expert. I like Algo Monster. It's another resource called Algo Monster. That's the one I kind of promote all the time. But there's a lot of good ones out there. Just DM me if you have more questions. If I don't get to your question specifically or I don't answer it fully, that's what that is for sure. Like I answer all the DMs that I get, every single one of them. So just please just DM me. You might need to be following me because otherwise then I have to go into the I don't know if it's not a spam folder, but like go into like the accept folder and all that stuff, and I only do that like every couple months. So please follow each other, follow me on all the different channels. Right now I'm streaming on YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter and X simultaneously or whatever, concurrently or whatever. So if you want to watch me on another channel, you can also watch me on other channels too when I do these lives. But yeah, or you can just watch my content on these other channels. I post and stuff on these other channels. So anyway, that's enough of that. A lot of interviews are moving away from LeetCode type problems. Yeah, so I was talking about that earlier. Like, I hope so. But as far as I know, I'm talking with people like daily, that are interviewing and stuff like that. There's still a lot of companies that haven't moved away from it because they don't understand how to effectively measure somebody. These are the measuring measuring stick they've used for years. And so they're not all just going to switch over to using AI style interviews just yet. It's going to take some time. But when they do, like I said earlier, they're going to be hard. So it sound I see what people do when we talk about it. Like they're like, oh, this LeetCode stuff's gonna be gone, and so we're gonna be fine. It's like, the interview's gonna be hard, man. I don't see what everybody else see. Like we're getting some kind of like leg up. I feel like if you weren't good before, like interviewing it doesn't, even if it's not LeetCode, interviewing is, you have to prepare. And if you're not a good preparer or focused preparer, you're still gonna not do good. Like you still have to prepare. So it's not just a go get a $20 ChatGPT subscription and you can just get a $500K job. Like it's just not gonna be like that. But I could be wrong. We'll see. What's your suggestion for someone who graduated with no work experience to get their first job? That's a good question. Like, yeah, Rody said, before I answer that, Rody said, I haven't seen a major shift in LeetCode interviews. Yeah, like I ain't seen it either. Like all the people I talked to, I did mock interviews recently with some of my ex-coworkers. Like I've seen the process they went through. It's the same process. Like one of them, I guess I'm not saying his name, but one of them I know like went to Meta, and Meta literally like had some like news article saying that they're going to switch to AI interviews. But when he just went through the interview, it was still the same interview. So, even a company that's saying they're switching to AI interviews is still doing LeetCode interviews. So, I'm not seeing it either. But anyway, to answer the question, what do you do to switch from talking so much AI stuff? What are you doing? What do you do when you just graduate, you have no work experience, and you're trying to get this first job in this crazy industry? Well, the thing I always suggest, and the thing it even helped me a lot of years ago when I first got started, is to start doing projects. And when I say start doing projects, you may start off with some tutorial projects, some little small side projects, but eventually get to the point where you're actually like almost freelancing in a sense, or contracting. And like actually try to like approach some businesses. The realer the business, the more legit the business, the better. And even if you got to do it for free, do some like actual sites for them. You have AI now to help you. I wouldn't recommend just crutching on it completely. Like make sure you're still learning so you can talk about what you were doing in the interview and what you learned from doing it and your experience doing it. But definitely use AI, because like now it's not going back from, you got to use it, but like just don't crutch on it completely as much as you probably would. But anyway, what I'm saying, to do your own projects when you don't have any experience, you're just coming out of school. What I did was actually I like worked for a company as a freelancer, and we wrote up a contract. I worked there for probably like a year or two, certain amount of hours, worked on their social media site. And I put it on my resume as contract work. It's like, you can put it on as freelance work. I recommend putting it on as contract work. Actually have a contract with them, even if you have to write it and say, hey, I'm going to work that for you as a contractor for this long to build your blank site. Put it on your resume. That's going to work better than you just coming with an empty resume with experience from Subway, or like me, I experienced from Best Buy and some other random experience that had nothing to do with coding. But I was actually able to put on the last slide that I worked for 2 years on this social media site. And the reason I say do something real and don't lie is because they're going to ask you about it. Like you need to be able to talk about it, and you need the experience doing it, like to your core. Like you actually need it. And the third reason is that if it's something that if you're working on an app or you're working on a website for this person or whatever, it's going to be something that's going to be public presented, probably most cases. Maybe it's private stuff sometimes, but I was able to show my social media site that I worked on in the interview that I did, that I actually got my first job from. And they were like, okay, so you use MySQL for this, and how'd you do this, and how'd you do that? And like, it actually, the stuff I used to build the site actually correlated to the stuff that they were using, and it helped me get the job because I didn't have any experience. I just had school. So they would just hammer me with like school questions like, what is an interface? What is the difference between interfaces in Java and C#? What is inheritance? And how does the interface, relate to inheritance and like just ask me all these like technical questions and what is, what is object or like what is OOP and what are the principles and what are the, what is solid and all these like different questions and stuff like the textbook questions I'd say, because you come out of school they don't know what else to ask, and I was like getting destroyed by those questions. But once we started talking like experience, they were like, oh, you do got a little experience on here doing this. And then we started talking about it and they were like, so, and I think that's really the only reason I got the job. So I say that from experience, that I say that's the one sort of loophole you can use to get some experience on your resume. It's not as good as like a full-time employee job somewhere, but it's better than nothing on your resume. So I recommend doing like basically freelancing, and then just writing contracts and just writing short-term contracts and putting on your resume as like a short-term contract, and be honest about it. So, why is the live getting shared like 1,000 times? What is that? Yeah, why are you doing that? I start next week. I got a job as assistant engineer. I'm cramming my DS and algos right now. You already got the job, and you're a good man. You got the job, and you still cramming, trying to get better. I get it, man. That first day, man. When you get a job like that was a crazy part, because like I thought after I got the job, my first programming job, I was like, yeah, I'm good now. But them first day jitters was rough, because you haven't you're always gonna have imposter syndrome your whole career, but it's bad on that first day, man. That first day when they don't know, like they hired you and then you like, I don't know if I can like my boss comes to me and say, hey, do this. Am I gonna be able to do it? Like in the time frame that he wants me to do it? And am I going to be capable? Am I going to be struggling? And like, it's a little fear on that first day. So I get it, man. But yeah, so practice up, man. I get that feeling. Yeah, man. Yeah, why is Jack keep sharing the live, man? What is that? I don't know what the heck that is. Quit doing that. And I don't know how to stop it. Or maybe I can turn off notifications for live sharing. Yeah, he's going crazy, bro. What is this? Yeah. Or some kind of glitch or something, man. Let me see if I can stop that. TikTok let me... Can I go on the phone and like see myself streaming and like stop that or something? Yeah, I don't know how to stop that I'm using the live studio viewer, so I don't even know how to stop that. Let me see if there's some option to... You got to do it through studio. What the heck, man? I'm trying to block dude. Accounts. Yeah, I don't know how the heck to do that. Let me see. Yeah, I'm gonna have to be better prepared for that next time, because I don't know how to do that. I can't see. You would think if you open up TikTok on your phone while you streaming, it would like let you freaking... Oh, here it is, I think. No, it's talking about go live. Like, I'm already live, bruh. I'm gonna turn that off, man. And I don't see any way. I don't see any option to turn it off. Anyway, man. Oh, okay. Oh, my bad, Jack. I didn't mean to come at you. Oh, it was a glitch or something. Okay. My bad, Jack. I didn't mean to come at you wrong. It must have been some kind of glitch. Appreciate it, man. I ain't mean to come at you crazy. I just didn't know what the heck was going on. Yeah, I might need to add some mods in here to help me with that kind of stuff. But yeah, I appreciate it, man. Stopping that, whatever that was. But anyway, I'm probably gonna go for answer a few more questions and probably hop off anyway. Lover girl, I'm sorry if I missed your question. Just ask it again if you can. Yeah, my bad about that. I know people probably dropped off when that start going crazy like that. But anyway, yeah, I don't know what y'all talking super technical, man. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, I'm looking at one of these comments saying currentNode.next Node.next. Oh yeah, there's a different way to do this problem, I think. I know what you're talking about. You're saying instead of doing it like this, I could, let me copy this down here, call this duplicates. So I think there's a different way I could do this problem by looking at the next node instead of the current. I don't think I have to look at the last node. I think I could, while next node and current node dot next. So while there's always something in the next one. So I think I could just look at the next node, and I don't need a variable to hold the next node because all the pointers, there's always pointers to the next node. So while current code and next node, I think I can say, yeah, I think I could do something like this. So while current node value, current node next value equal, then I think I have to figure out what I would do then. I think I could skip the next node then. Yeah, I could just skip the next node. So I could say current node.next equals current node.next next. I think that's what you were saying, lover girl. And then if not, then I can just set current node equal to current node.next. I think, yeah, so I think this do look a lot simpler than mine. Less operations. But see, this just depends on how you think about the problem, like the difference you can get. See, I'm thinking about it like, let me look at the last node and do the comparison with the last node. She's thinking about it, let me look at the next node and do the comparison with the next node. And then just use next, because that's the next node of the next node. I already know next node is guaranteed to exist for my loop, so I don't have to worry about any kind of exceptions. And then I just set it equal to my current node so I can keep going through my loop. Yeah, let me see if this actually works. I'm not going to go through all the stuff I went through last time. Yeah, so it looks good. So appreciate you saying that, lover girl. Let me submit it. See if gets better runtime. Oh no, it failed once. So I must have messed something up. It failed 1-1. How would it fail 1-1? So yeah, I got one. It doesn't delete all the duplicates. So what did I mess up? You don't need the first half of the condition. So if let me add a case here. My bad if y'all can't see something. So I'm gonna add a case here. 1-1-1. I get 1-1. So something I'm not doing is right. So if the current value is equal to the next node, then I actually want to set next equal to the next one. I want to skip it. and then set the next one equal to the current node. Yeah, because that's setting next to next. So that actually skips this one. Just next. So then, yeah, next equals next. So that takes one out of the thing. But why doesn't that not work with one? It works with everything except 1, 1, 1. So it works with this one. Oh, I guess it just doesn't work when there's 3. Oh, I can't edit that. Yeah, it doesn't work when there's 3. I'm guessing. Yeah. I don't know. Oh, I don't know why it wouldn't work if there's 3. Because you're assuming, you're assuming the value after next is unique. Check if. Yeah. Okay. That's what I mean. That's what it seems like. But I feel like I thought it would be fine if I'm setting this equal to this, and then if it's still the same, then I should come back in here. If current value, yeah, it should just equal to it again, and I just skip it again. Yeah, I don't get it. I feel like I'm still just taking one out at a time. Yeah, I don't understand. Or maybe it's because yeah, this equals so let me just run something through here and see. 1, 1, 1. I'm gonna do 1, 1, 1. Current node. I really am confused by that, why this not working now. I mean, I guess that's why I thought to do it the other way, because this way probably just doesn't make sense to me. I really can't think of what is wrong with this. I have to just troubleshoot it. Unless y'all know what to do. Do next.next equals current node. So I set .next here, and current node, and I'm setting current, and I'm updating current node every time to the next one. And here, I'm setting .next the current node next. So where are y'all saying set I don't know. I don't know what y'all saying. I don't know. I'm gonna try to just go through it because I can't understand what everybody's saying. So this would be what I'm trying to solve here. This would be the head. The head would be equal to the first one, and that's just pointing to another one, which is pointing to another one. That's the case I'm failing on, is 1, 1, 1 with 3, where I need to basically get it down to just 1. So current node would be actually just this one, which points to this one. And then currentNode.next would just be these two on the end here. Which is gonna be freaking confusing though. Yeah, it's gonna be confusing anyway. So our current node and current node next. If current node value equals current next value, so these two equal, then current node next equals, Yeah, so the current node I'm on, the next equals the next. So I would set this one to point at this one. Yeah, so the currentNode.next, I would set it equal to the next value, which would give me 1 and 1. And then I would update currentNode equal to currentNode.next, which should equal, oh, so then I'm at the end. So maybe I shouldn't be, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. This line here. Maybe that's what y'all was saying. It's the only thing I could think y'all was saying. I shouldn't be moving it. No, I don't think that's working. It's just getting stuck in an infinite loop. Or it should be else. I shouldn't move it into, okay, I think that's what it was. Yeah, I shouldn't do that until, what the heck? How I can't go back? That's crazy, bro. What the heck is wrong with this thing? I think I can't do that all the time. I should only do that if it's not equal. Yeah. Yeah, I got messed up on that one. Appreciate it, y'all. I know it was a lot of comments. If I missed you, if you said that, I'm sorry. Or if you said something else that was right, that was able to do it, I'm sorry if I didn't understand what you were saying. It looked like a bunch of stuff. Like it looked like stuff was like coming together. I was like, I don't know, man. And y'all trying to type code on a comment. I'm like, I can't see what it is, like what you actually mean. So, but yeah, this fixes that. And then if I submit it, yeah, I trying to do this every time. I don't need to do it every time. I only need to do it when I don't set the next. Because once I update next, then it doesn't matter. Like I can just keep going. So yeah, really, I mean, the memory looks a little bit better than it was before, but this probably just because I'm setting up less variables than I was before. But the time and space complexity is the same. I'm still just processing the same number of nodes and not using any additional space. So yeah, I appreciate that solution. Love a girl. And I appreciate everybody commenting, adding the help and stuff like that. I appreciate that. Cause yeah, boy, I got stuck, man. But see, that's what I'm glad that happened because I didn't get stuck the whole time. So I'm glad I at least got stuck on something. Somebody said, "Bro, oh, what's up, Verone? We still, man. If you're on TikTok, you'll see in the comments, man. A lot of, I ain't gonna say a lot of people, but some people came on there. We're still, LeetCode's still getting asked out there. So as long as it's still getting asked by major companies, I'm still gonna do these lives with LeetCode. So I wouldn't give up on LeetCode yet. I wouldn't give up on LeetCode. You can avoid it easier now. I would say that it's probably a more avoidable than it's ever been. But there's some jobs that's still gonna not be unlocked unless you learn LeetCode. There was certain levels financially I couldn't get to without learning LeetCode. It's for me personally. That was my personal experience. There were certain jobs I couldn't go for. It was certain. I'm sure you can get there without LeetCode. I'm not saying that, but it was at least in my path. It was in the way, so I had to learn it, or I had to practice it, I guess. LeetCode is overall helps with problem solving. Yeah, and it, like I said this earlier before I even did the problem, like of the reason why this would be helpful to a programmer. Even in the times of AI, like you still want to be able to catch, because AI may decide not to prioritize based on what you're asking it to do. If you ask it to do something very specific, it may choose to honor your request versus writing the most accurate or most optimized algorithm, if you get what I mean. So if you ask it to do something and you give it a lot of context, you say, hey, I want you to do exactly like this, the AI codes it for you, but your ask could actually prevent it from creating the most optimal, like your context you give it could prevent it from creating the most accurate, most optimal algorithm as far as space and time complexity. So you still need to know like space and time complexity to make sure you're writing good algorithms, especially if you're writing algorithms that deal with scale at these big companies, or you're dealing with algorithms that are resource intensive, like they're doing database operations, or they're calling some API, or they're spending tokens for some third party service that costs money, that costs the company money. Certain cases it doesn't matter. Like a lot of front end development, a lot of times it doesn't matter. But some front end development it does. Sometimes if you write, I've seen inefficient algorithms on the front end crash the browser, where they're using resources inefficiently. They're like locking up the UI, too much DOM manipulation, or infinite loops, or whatever the case is, or just intensive operations that lock up the UI. Like we had one, well not we, but I've seen an algorithm before where it was a loop that was simply just inefficiently making API calls and just making like 50 to 100 API calls. And that's more of a design problem than an algorithm problem, but just by simply optimizing the algorithm, it was able to stop this browser crash from happening. So this stuff isn't just mindless. It's not a great way to interview somebody, I don't think, but they have a reason to the madness, I guess. It's not completely absent of reason of why they ask this stuff at the FANG companies. Now, why all these mid-level to junior level companies, mid-level to startup level companies started asking these, I think they were just emulating Google. All these companies just emulating Google when they first started doing it. Some of these companies don't deal with the scale necessary to ask these questions. They just don't. The day-to-day work doesn't lend itself to it. You never will run into the type of scale. So they don't need to be asking these questions. They're just doing it out of blind copy. They're just copying what they've seen done in the industry, which isn't good. But, that's what's going on. So anyway, yeah, man, I think I'm going to get off. I think I'm going to end it there. I would like to say a couple things. I appreciate everybody that jumped in. If I didn't get to answer your question because weird stuff happened on the stream or I just got distracted, please DM me though. Like, follow me, and you don't have to follow me. Just DM me and just ask me whatever question you got, and I'll answer it directly and more. I answer all the DMs, so I'll answer it more solid. And yeah, I'm streaming live. I do this once a week. I've been skipping a couple weeks, but I'm gonna get back on it. Do this once a week, maybe more in the future on TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, and X. And is that Threads or that? Yeah, it's X. Man, I be getting Threads and X confused. Their icons and everything look the same. Yeah, on X. And so I stream all these at the same time. So if you want to follow me and stream on, watch me stream on another one, you can switch or just follow me on another channel. I also post coding content and all that stuff too. And I answer questions, comments, DMs. So please follow each other. Connect with each other. Try to make the best of this community on these different platforms as far as tech and coding and software development and AI. Hopefully we can try to help each other here more and more and just kind of help get through this bad job market we're in these times of AI, and just help all of us get to the bag and get to, the success and things we want and the things we want to build in tech. I'm right now building some of my own things. I also work a full-time job at a, I'd say mid-sized tech company. I'm a principal software engineer. So I've been doing it for a long time. So I've done these interviews before at startups. I've done them at mid-level companies. I've got offers from FANG companies. So I've done it at every level, at least to be able to talk about it and answer your questions. I don't know everything. I'm not the best at everything. I'm not the best at these leak codes at all. There's a lot that I can't do, but I at least can validate that I've done interviews like this. I've built software for, at scale. So, hopefully I can help people, and hopefully I can get the help I need on here and the inspiration I need on here back in turn. So I appreciate y'all watching the stream again. Another week. I wish there was a few more people on YouTube. It was yeah, I guess it was a lot of comments, but I think they probably left when everything got weird with those comments on TikTok. But on TikTok, as always, it's always a ton of people on TikTok, so I appreciate y'all. TikTok just pours people in there, and every other platform too. I appreciate y'all joining and watching. I will see y'all in the next one, and yeah, reach out in the DMs.